Wednesday's closes higher in the grains, but a lower day across the board in the livestock futures. Brian Doherty is in with analysis. Brian, grain trade did have a strong finish on Wednesday and really good technical closes, in fact.
In fact, you're right. They did really nice closes. The market continues to factor in the trade deal prospect of sales to China and maybe uncertainty with the USDA report that's coming up on Friday and what the yield number looks like there. Variable yield results, I think, are front and center in the bean crop for now. There really isn't much to talk about in the southern hemisphere yet. We're not quite to when weather matters. But the idea of this trade deal, strong exports, a nice technical picture, and more upside picture on the technicals is likely keeping the speculative money buying beans and, for that matter, corn.
So, Brian, what are you expecting in the reports on Friday? There's a lot of skepticism about the numbers. And what do we need to see for this rally to continue in the grains?
They probably won't make the yield changes that some are looking for, but believe are there. But there'll likely be line item changes where they can concentrate a little bit more on projections and estimates, whereas the yield needs to come from farmer surveys, plot test surveys, those type of things. So I think it might be where a situation where maybe there's a little bit of a change. Maybe they mix it up and say, well, we'll put a yield estimate out there in December, which we normally don't see. Otherwise, look to January for the final yield estimates.
Brian, do you think some of the rally in the grain trade on Wednesday was also tied to the government reopening?
Oh, sure. It's another negative that's pushed aside. Now, whether it actually has input or not, but it's not something hanging over the market.
And cattle down on Wednesday, we just can't seem to get any traction in that market yet.
We had a limit higher day with little follow through. That's not a good sign when the market is in a corrective mode, which I'd say that the cattle futures are. I'm not so sure that the cash market is necessarily in much of a corrective mode. Supplies are still tight, demand still strong. Nonetheless, the futures market is trying to find some sort of footing here, not the best of finishes.
Thanks so much, Brian Doherty with Total Farm Marketing. That is Markets Now.